If you were alone in a room with someone who was human trafficked, what would you ask?
Hello, I'm Madison. What's your name?
I'm Jay. It's nice to meet you, Madison.
Nice to meet you.
How did it happen?
So I became homeless after I left home to escape some abuse at the hands of an extended family member. And I befriended some people who seemed like wonderful people.
She actually touched upon a common misconception that a lot of people have about being kidnapped, being, abused, as well as being assaulted. Because a lot of times it comes from people that you know or the people you trust. It's not like some random strangers was going to come swoop you up and then dip out with you. We in the Black community talk about that a lot. Like we got that one creepy, uncle that's, just really touchy feeling, that pastor, that male figure, that is very, creepy. I've had several friends that say their stepfathers have initiated this type of nefarious, deeds on their children as well as onto them. We need to talk about more is that we need to stop doing this stranger danger or just start doing more of just like good touch, bad touch when it comes to everybody, because you don't know who is going to be the one to really, do this like nefarious stuff.
These two gentlemen began speaking to me about selling sex as a way of making a living. I rejected their offers because I was only a teenager, and later those two men came and took me and put me in the trunk of the car and drove off into the night. I was 16 years old when I first was exploited, and then I wasn't able to get out of my trafficking experience until after I was 17.
How many
So almost 2
abusers did you
years.
have?
Well, I had
Almost a year.
two main traffickers, and then as far as the people who purchased me, which would be the folks who abused me day in and day out, I had over 24,000 buyers. The age range of the men who bought me would be anywhere from their early 20s up into like elderly men, but the typical age of a buyer is a middle-aged white male, usually with a six-figure income.
I'm not really shocked that the average buyer would be a average male, with six-figure income, because a lot of these, rich people you think, doing good things in the world, these are people that be the most sickest individuals in the world. Jeffrey Epstein was, a prime example of it. Like he seemed to be this good all billionaire and stuff, but like his island, so much stuff was popping off. And the fact of the matter that he was connected to so many other powerful people in the industry and, entertainment, to politics, to, film, even Oprah. I'm not accusing them of doing anything nefarious. I also believe birds of a feather flock together, and it's just like, if this been such a problem for many, many decades, then there's no way that they didn't know about it. One thing I'm kind of worried about this whole red pill man on spirit community propping up right now, especially with passport bros, which I'm gonna do another video about on a later date. I'm just worried about a lot of men are going to feel like they're entitled to do this stuff more and more often. Now they're going to not actually just like, just buy, women, for, relations. But I feel like they're going to actually start pimping out women. With regards to what's going on with Andrew Tate with his criminal case with, trafficking in Romania, I'm not going to say whether he actually trafficked women or he didn't do it. But I don't blame women for being skeptical of him denying it, because he has bragged about his, cam girl business for, many, many years on the platform, basically, saying that he actually like manipulated women into doing this. He actually went on record to actually put his playbook on how he got women to do it. Like he would get in their heads, basically, say this, say that, and then later down the line, it will be just, okay, you're going to do this for me. But with all that being said, I feel like there's going to be more and more, men trying to do this, because it's just, we're growing up in a culture where we need men to be more dominant. We need men to like be in control. And like, you got influencers such as Tate, such as, Fresh and Fit, demeaning women and stuff. I feel like this culture is going to get worse and worse.
What kind of abuse did you endure during your time?
There was, of course, sexual abuse, physical abuse, psychological abuse. A lot of it was just also unpredictable. So you might have gotten paid with change, and I would give the change over to the trafficker, and then suddenly change is not acceptable, and now I'm being beaten with the change inside of a pillowcase to let me know not to ever take change again. And then the next night, I turned down a buyer who has change, and then I would get beaten because I didn't accept money.
Wow.
So it was really all about keeping us confused. We had no furniture except for one bed, but you couldn't sleep in the bed. We also weren't allowed food or water We weren't allowed to pick out our own clothing. We weren't allowed to bathe. We didn't have towels, soap, toothbrushes. We had nothing.
Was there ever a point where you thought this was going to be forever? And what got you through day by day?
Yeah, so I thought every single day that this was going to be forever. And so I really just lived moment to moment. I frequently dissociated. That was probably one of the biggest savers for my brain. So I did not try to seek help while I was being trafficked. One, because they had drilled it into our heads that if we went to the police that we would be arrested because we were criminals, we were prostitutes.
That's common,
What do you think about the people
That's a
who
common tactic
paid
they
or
use.
I don't think that all the buyers were aware I was being trafficked, though a lot of them did ask questions about my pimp, so they definitely knew that I was under somebody else's control and that my profits would be going to another person. It takes a certain level of entitlement, whatever is going on in their life, whether it's under the guise of being lonely or having sex as a quote unquote need versus what it actually is it's a want. You know, air and water and food are a need. They give themselves permission. So to objectify and dehumanize me on that level in order to make me an object of pleasure for them, that's not somebody who I can have empathy or sympathy for.
It takes a sick individual to, you know, not only buy someone else's services, but to dehumanize them and abuse them for it. And really, when you put things into perspective, we need to connect this to war. Oftentimes, you know, essaying as well as grapes, remove the G, have been a common tool to really dehumanize enemies in war by basically, you know, pillaging and basically grape the women of someone's village, country, and the victors, you know, the people who are conquering that country can say like, I'm on top of y'all, I own all of this, you know, I can do whatever I want to. And I feel like that has translated more now into society where we have, you know, men, you know, becoming, you know, pimps, or men trying to dehumanize women, telling women like, I own you, I own this, you know, you're gonna do what I say, you're gonna cook and clean, whatever. We still have that going on into society because I feel like it's more of a pride and ego thing. Like, men wants to be on top, men want to feel like, you know, they're the alpha dog in this, and like a lot of times it comes at the expense of women. Don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with having relations or telling your partner that like, hey, I want relations, but it has to be done consensually, and you know, it just can't be forced or coerced. Like, if you have to beg your partner or you have to hold something over your partner's head to get what you want and get your needs met, then that's a problem not only for them, but it's also a problem indicative of like who you are as a person.
I personally do not believe that sex work is work. I think the lowest statistic that I read was 87% of people who are in exploitation, even if they're choosing to be there, that they feel trapped and there is not a way out, and so they continue. And if somebody feels trapped, is that really consent? If somebody would rather say no, is that consensual? And are we okay with that?
How did you escape?
Yeah, so we would frequently move hotels and hotel rooms, and a hotel employee saw this group of young girls getting in a car with these two older gentlemen, thought something didn't seem right. And so they contacted law enforcement. Unfortunately, the state that I was in is one of half of the states that charge children with prostitution. So even though I was abducted and trafficked, the police arrested me. I was arrested and charged with prostitution and aggravated money laundering for taking money from the buyers and giving it to my traffickers.
And did they offer any resources to help you or anything, or?
No.
How long were you?
Yeah, that sounds about right. Our criminal justice systems focuses a lot more on punishment than actually like restoring people. Like, not even just going just from like just being trafficked and not giving them resources and just treating them like actual criminals, but it's just more about like crime, you know, whether it be drugs, you know, substance use, unaliving someone, whatever you may have it. Is just we rather focus on punishing people instead of just actually like giving them resources to do better. Like, most prisons will rather people just suffer in solitary confinement, abuse prisoners, and really just have prisoner guards have their power over them and have their way with them, rather than actually restoring people, building up people, and actually giving people tools for them to reintegrate back into society. And even then, you know, a lot of these jobs don't hire felons, so you have a higher rate of recidivism going on into society where it's just like, people will fall back into their old ways because there's no way out after they make that one strike. And for a country that, prides itself of having second chances, that says anyone can come here and beat somebody, even if you make one mistake, as well as you have a lot more white people who do more of the crime in this country, but yet they get a slap on the wrist and be able to reintegrate back in society better than, a lot of black and brown folk. It really indicative of just like what type of country we're in right now. Because if we're the country that we say we are, then we would actually understand why these girls are doing this, with these older men, actually understand them, arrest those older men as well, get their information too, and, just really go follow the source back to their pimp and just really shut this whole ring down. But like I said, we are a country that, is a bunch of hypocrites. And it's just like, there's no reason why she should have been in prison.
I was held for 40 days in this maximum security facility. My 2 traffickers each served 10 days for their crimes. They took plea deals.
Gosh. When you returned and you were able to come home, how did your family and friends react or treat you?
So my family didn't learn the true story about what had happened until after I learned the true story of what had happened, because this wasn't something that I recognized. When you're a child and you have traffickers that are painting the illusion that you're making choices, and then to be arrested, and then to be labeled and to serve time. All of those things told me that I was a perpetrator and not a victim. So when I came home, what I came home to was a family who believed that I was a criminal. And so I was treated as very lucky to have a space to even come to after what I had decided to do.
This is often common too, because oftentimes people don't understand the why, things happen. They more of just like look at like the system one level of thinking, where you just like look at labels, you look at things on the surface. And so they probably branded her as a prostitute. The system two is thinking of things where you look at the system, the levels, and like the why things happen. It's just like she was, trafficked. She was manipulated. Like emotional manipulation happens on a daily basis. Not even just people who've been trafficked, but it might be happening in your relationship with your husband, with your boyfriend, with your wife, your mother, parents, grandparents, family, friends. Like people get manipulated on a daily basis and are not even aware of it. And so people think they're making choices, or if it's just like if something happens, it's their fault, when in actuality it's not. In her situation, she's fully like, was manipulated. Like she was taken, and it's just like, they put her in a false sense of just like, you're not, you can't help yourself. You can't go to nobody. You only got us. Like, you better shut up and do what we need you to do, and, you'll be fine. We need to have a more dialogue with our family, with our friends about, when things happen, understand the reason why things happen, and not just label people because just the criminal justice system label her as a criminal. Because like she wasn't a criminal at the end of the day, she was a victim. Sad thing about this too, even when you got little kids like as young as like 13, maybe even younger than that, who get essayed, who get assaulted by family members, and their parents don't even believe them. Like oftentimes their family members, would say like, oh, she coerced me, oh, they did this, they did that. And you got parents, defending the perpetrator and not even their own kid.
If you can write a letter to yourself from that time, from like the beginning, what would you write, and how would you encourage that version of you, that part of you?
I think really just recognizing that it wasn't my fault. Even to this day, I still have a hard time having empathy for little me.
Yeah.
But then when it comes to old me, when I think about me, when I don't have physical control of my body, when once again I am at the mercy of other people, that scares the heck out of me. And so I try to hold empathy and space for young me. And then I really think about encouraging the older version of myself
I was assaulted some years ago, so I can't even comprehend your story and your experience, knowing how that experience has shaped and changed my life. Thank you again for sharing. I really so appreciate it.
That's
What makes you happy?
life. I mean, I shouldn't be alive. I'm grateful for every day.
Yep.
Oh, that hit. Sorry, I'm like kind of getting emotional in this interview, just because I've been through like a rape situation, and so I just feel like it's bringing me a lot of clarity talking to you, even though like it's been hard for me to ask certain questions. But I'm really thankful that you're sharing your story, because I feel like a lot of people need to hear about this, and I really appreciate you just for speaking out.
I love my life now so much. I have an insane amount of friends, and my children are the coolest people I have ever met. I don't know why I'm so lucky. Being seen for myself, you know, for the first time in this phase of my life, it's just such a gift. It's such a gift to feel genuine love for who I am.
Wow, I'm happy that it's over for you and you get to live your life, and I'm here for you, and I can't wait to meet you on the other side. Thank you so much.
I like that. Man, I like that conclusion. So there's gonna be a big trigger warning on this video, because obviously this is a very sensitive subject, and you know, goes beyond many layers. This is a topic that we need to talk about more. Like, young men need to be understanding more about this topic, because I feel like I said earlier, with this red pill, Andrew Tate, Sneeko, you know, manosphere culture we got going on, we oftentimes dehumanize women. We oftentimes, you know, talk to them like they're dogs, they're crazy, they're objects that don't even matter. But at the end of the day, you know, that level of, you know, disrespect can elevate into like what we see now with trafficking. And I'm not trying to make any accusations or make any like conspiracy theories, but I, you know, feel like we need to look at how many kids are going missing, because every time I go into a Walmart, every time I go into a grocery store, every time I go out in public, I see a new missing person poster every day, and the same one's still being hung up. With this incel culture going on, with the red pill talk, with men saying that they're being undervalued, that men need to take more control, you know, I'm just worried it's going to be taken to the wrong ways, and now we're going to be having more like, you know, Jeffrey Epstein's in the world out here, you know, trying to like, you know, take women. But with that being said, that has been my reaction video for this Sunday. If you like what you see today, like, subscribe, turn on post notifications, all that wonderful good stuff. Also, share this video out with somebody, get the word out. Now, if you want to see another important issue that's going on in the world right now, definitely look at my video about water beads. It's a very important topic, you know, we need to have to protect our kids as much as important as this topic. Stay warm, stay frosty, depending on what part of the country you're in, and peace out.